So much of my work has been in helping people understand subtle causes of trauma, because I hear all the time, I don't think I have trauma, but why do I have the 60 characteristics of trauma? And so it's the very, very subtle causes that need to be understood. And once you understand them, it just turns on a whole bunch of light bulbs for you. And again, I just hope that these really help you understand your own life even better. The first is having a parent who had lots of fear and anxiety. They worried a lot. And so this could be a parent who was very obvious that they struggled with anxiety, had panic attacks, had many phobias, or it could equally be having a parent where that wasn't obvious. They covered it very well, but yet you sensed, as a child, you sensed that they were always on guard. They were always fearful. They were insecure. And a child will pick that up. And we're going to talk more about that later. Part of what could have happened in having a parent like this is that you would have grown up hearing them express their anxiety and fear on a regular basis. So you might have heard them many times. Every time you went to go out with friends or go out and do something, they would warn you about some dangers that you might encounter. So every going out wasn't excitement or celebration. It was warning and it was fear. And that's what you grew up with. Or you had a parent who just constantly worried about everything. And every time they got a new physical symptom or an ache or a little pain, they would be running off to the doctor, or they'd be worrying that they have a severe sickness or cancer, etc. Or you had a parent who was constantly expressing concern. And then when they watched the news, they expressed concerns about war, about terrorism, or that you might get kidnapped. There's just worry that was constantly being expressed, sometimes in very loud ways, sometimes in just very subtle, soft ways, but it was always there. Or a parent who always was focusing on the bad stuff that was happening in the world. They'd never focused on the good stuff happening in the world. It was always the bad stuff. And so what happened as a child is you received this very lopsided picture of the world, that it was just this very dangerous, evil place, and because that's all that your parent focused on. You might have even had a parent who went so far as just to get all wrapped up in conspiracy theories, extreme fear-based religion, and so they were constantly talking about that. You might have grown up with a parent who saw the world as just a very evil, dangerous place. And so that's how they almost personified the world as the enemy that was out to destroy you. And you needed to be protected from this very, very evil place. And that was their whole worldview, their mindset. Or you had a parent who basically gave you the impression that nobody could be trusted. Everybody was out to use you, hurt you, betray you. So it wasn't just the world that it was evil, it was all the people of the world outside of family that just could not be trusted, that would hurt you. So if you grew up with that, that has a profound effect on a child. Now I really want to take this a little bit further so you can really understand it. When we talk about trauma, we're actually talking about what's going on in a child's internal world. Does it feel safe? And so usually when we think about trauma, we think about what is happening in their external world that is making their internal world feel safe. But what is happening in this situation is what is happening in their parents' internal world is what is making the child's internal world feel unsafe. So this is so significant to understand, because what is important to see is that a child's internal world is shaped and controlled more by their parents' internal world than by the external world. That is why we spend so much time, and the research is showing the importance for a child to be attached securely to a safe person who will meet their needs, a safe person who is a calm rock, who is a co-regulator, who is very regulated, who is very calm. So if the parent is dysregulated and full of fear, the child becomes full of fear and becomes dysregulated, and they have no one to regulate to who is calm, who is a rock. And so there's no way for them to resolve the internal fear that they're picking up from the parent because there's nobody calm to regulate to. And so they end up with complex trauma. This child could be living in a home that is totally safe externally. There's absolutely zero danger. Their physical needs are being met. It is a very, very safe place to live. But the child is traumatized because internally they feel in danger because they are connected to mom and her internal world, which has unresolved fear happening all the time. And the child, therefore, has unresolved fear and nobody to regulate to. So the parent's internal world has more impact on the child's internal world than what is happening in the external world. That is the power of attachment. And that is what this form of complex trauma is all about. So let me say it again. A child gains their sense of safety and security not so much from the external world, but by being attached to a regulated, safe person who has a calm internal world. When they can attach to a rock who has a calm internal world, then they are calm. Even though their external world might have some chaos and danger happening, it's okay because mom will take care of me, dad will take care of me, they're safe, they're calm, so I can be calm. That is what a child needs. But if a child doesn't have that, if they are attached to somebody who's not regulated, then they are feeling fear themselves, which is the environment of complex trauma. Let me take that a little bit further. What I want you to understand in understanding trauma is that children are vibe machines. Children pick up danger, not just from their five senses. Children also have interoception, neuroception that comes from the vagus nerve, where they are picking up danger by their gut. They are sensing something isn't safe. And what is the basis of that when they're really young is they're picking up their parents' emotional state. And then everybody they meet, they pick up their emotional state, how safe that person is. And if they sense the person's internal emotional state is full of anger, stress, fear, anxiety, then they feel that. Because those emotions are contagious to a small child whose whole basis of calmness is by being co-regulated, by being attached to somebody else. So what I'm wanting you to see is this child who is a vibe machine is more aware of the internal world of others and affected by it than we've ever realized before. It affects them even greater than their external world. And so this is just so important. So let me take that a little bit further. If a child grows up in a home where the parents never argued in front of the kids, never fought in front of the kids, but they were angry all the time, even though they never expressed it in ways the kids could see, the kids are picking up anger. The kids are picking up that mom and dad aren't safe right now because there's a whole bunch of anger happening. Even though mom and dad are suppressing it, the kids are sensing it, and they're sensing the tension, and they're feeling unsafe. I hope you're beginning to realize that this is way bigger cause of complex trauma than most people realize. Like, this is massive. Most people, when they think of complex trauma, just focus on the external environment of a child when they're growing up. What I hope you're beginning to see, it's even more so the internal environment of the parent that is affecting the child. So as Gabor Mate has said, trauma is not what happens to us, but what happens inside of us because of what is happening outside of us. So that can be external circumstances that the child can't resolve that are dangerous. That'll give them trauma. Let me take it one final step. This child is growing up in an external world that's very safe, but their internal world is picking up all of mom's fear. This is causing cognitive dissonance in the child. They can see logically that their world is safe, but they are picking up through their gut that their world is not safe. So they have this contradiction in their head, and they can try to argue against the emotion they're picking up from mom that it's not safe, and they can try to give all kinds of logic as to why everything is safe, but usually what their gut is telling them, what they're picking up from mom's internal world, trumps their logic.